to a chat about the Broncos, and we mentioned it previously with Vic Fangio. So the Broncos are now 3-4. They started 3-0 and they beat the three worst teams. It's a great question for our buddy Lucas, who will get a hat at some point before Christmas, maybe. Which coach is fired first, Matt Nagy or Vic Fangio? And this is a very valid question because the Broncos are actually, they have the Washington football team at home on Halloween next week. Then they're at the Cowboys the week after that. Yikes. Boy. Eagles at home the week after that. And then they have their bye. Again, this is a team that started 3-0, got people excited. They beat up on bad teams. They look a lot like the Carolina Panthers, except in the AFC. They have lost 4 straight games. They were humiliated in primetime defensively with a defensive head coach by a backup quarterback, a third-string running back, and some backup offensive linemen, and a bunch of hurt wide receivers. Like that was, again, chat's been yelling at me. Wilson's been yelling at me. They got humiliated. Does Vic Fangio, if they lose their next 3 games, does he make it through the bye?
I think the bigger humiliation came last week when they lost to a team that, when the first coach of the year did get fired, and John Gruden.
Yeah, that was like a hype-up emotional thing, I think.
Resigned.
He resigned. That was embarrassing. They didn't even show up.
Important.
It wasn't 17-14. It was whatever the score was. It was never even in question. It was a bloodbath. So I think back to back together, they're sort of cumulative. If you're Vic Fangio, he could go 1-2 very easily. I feel like over the next 3 games. I think he has to go 2-1 to sort of quell any. I don't know what his relationship with George Payton, the new general manager, but if he goes 1-2 or 0-3, that's a real problem. And there could be some issues over the break.
Well, all right. So if we're talking about first coach fired or next coach fired, I guess.
I don't think Matt Nagy's getting fired for some reason.
The Lions are the Bears are 3-3. They don't look good. Fields is not. I would, if I were taking Nagy versus Fangio, I would definitely take, in terms of if I'm picking who gets fired, I'm taking Fangio over Nagy as more likely to be fired because for a couple of reasons. One, the 3-0 to 3-4 and potentially 3-7 or 3-6 start or whatever it is the way it just looks is so bad. 2, your defense is supposed to be good and it's terrible. 3, you have Pat Shurmur, who is a former head coach, a 2-time head coach, actually, on staff that could take over if you needed to do that. And 4, as Wilson points out, new general manager. Nagy with Justin Fields in there, even as questionable as he's looked, I think I would be surprised if he got fired. The Dolphins are in the mix.
Yeah.
I was going to say, well, there are 6 teams that have 1 win or less. Obviously the Lions are 0-6. 4 of them have a first-year coach, so you're not getting fired in your first year.
Well, Urban has to be in the discussion, I think, but I don't think he gets fired.
And then the other 2 are Joe Judge and Brian Flores.
I think Joe Judge is at the top of the list over Nagy and Fangio. I mean, those other 2 teams have 3 wins. And the Giants are a meteor headed right for the sun.
O+ asked in chat, what about Dan Campbell? Dan Campbell is going to get the whole year, I feel like.
Yeah.
And maybe even 2 years. The Lions, Rick Spielman, and then what's the guy I hate, Bob Wood or whatever in the front office. They all
Rod Wood.
Is it Bob Wood? Rod Wood?
Rod
Wood. Yeah, my guy Rod Wood.
Look, you could have Belichick, Nick Saban, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, all coach his team on the coaching staff at the same time, and they're still going to win just as many games as Dan Campbell.
Yeah. Dan Campbell's going to get the whole year. They will not. They know they're rebuilding. They won't fire him midseason, I don't believe. Victor says my guess is still Urban Meyer.
I think that's
Urban's definitely. I mean, but Urban is not in the cards if nothing weird
I was going to say, I don't think Urban gets fired. He's not getting fired this year unless another video comes out or text or something.
Yeah, it has to be something non-football related for Urban to get fired.
Because if you're Shad Khan, if you're Jacksonville's owner, you're thinking, Urban Meyer wasn't here for most of that 20-game losing streak, and that whole losing streak's a bad look for Jacksonville, and for Urban Meyer to be the coach who broke it is going to reflect good on him. So there's no way he's getting fired this season unless something more embarrassing comes out.
Wait a second. So you would say that Urban Meyer's experience thus far this season has been more positive than negative?
No, just that he's not going to get fired this year.
I don't think he's going to get fired. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you're talking about him breaking the 20-game losing streak.
He was not there for all 20 games. It's not like he lost all 20 games. He walked into a 15-game losing streak. And
well, what about all the things that JLC's been reporting since the summer, that it's dysfunctional, that he doesn't know how to game plan for the week, that everything's a doo-doo show? I mean, that's a problem. I would imagine Shad Khan knows about this. Since
exactly. And then the one thing I said last week was if he went to 0-6, then I wouldn't have been surprised. But now that he's got that one win under his belt, I would be shocked. You scoff, Ryan, but I think winning cures everything.
Shad Khan is deeply embarrassed by how terrible his football team has been for the entire tenure, except for 2017 of his ownership. He doesn't want to fire Urban Meyer after he gave him the keys to the kingdom and let him completely redefine the roster and run football operations by himself, essentially.
Well, this is the same Shad Khan who had to release a statement after the dance video came out saying this is a huge embarrassment.
But that's, again, like if something else happens with Urban off the field or more stuff comes out about anything else that has happened, that's a different story.
Can you imagine having to write this stuff about a 57-year-old grown man who has grandkids? Like, if you do this one more time, then you're really going to be in trouble.
It's literally what Urban says to his grandkids.
Right. Exactly.
To Breech's point, I think the Jaguars are the only first-year head coach who might fire their coach, and it would
or more likely maybe he just quits because it feels like he may whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't think he'd do that again.
Well,
I don't think Urban is as likely as people think. I think he gets through the season and then they'll try to figure things out.
Can I enter the chat and enter a name?
Nick Sirianni?
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's just wish casting.
Debo is out 6 games in.
They can't fire.
Is Nick Sirianni the Dwight Howard of coaches?
Debo, Debo, would you rather have Nick Sirianni or Zach Taylor?
Zach attack all day.
Zach attack.
Zach Taylor, you're closer to being able to fire him because he's been there long enough.
It's funny. If you even go up to 2 wins, there's some interesting coaches on that list, like Frank Reich, Kyle Shanahan, Bill Belichick. Like guys
Frank
are
Reich,
not.
Frank, stop with Frank Reich.
He said Bill Belichick.
No, I'm saying those. No, these are not.
He said Bill Belichick.
No, I'm not saying these guys are getting fired at all. I'm saying when you look at the list of coaches who could be on the hot seat with 2 wins or less, these are guys who are not. So you're talking about. Yes, I named Frank Reich, Kyle Shanahan, and Bill Belichick as guys who are on the hot seat. You guys got me.
All right, so who are the names you were thinking about with 2 wins?
No, I'm going to name the rest of the list.
Go ahead.
But you guys have to interrupt because you have no idea what I'm talking about, apparently. And so you have Arthur Smith, boom, first-year coach. He's not going anywhere. Sirianni, first-year coach, not going anywhere.
Look, there's only like 4 teams with 2 and 4 wins. That's just great.
He's trying to talk himself out of a ticket, and he was going 110 miles an hour.
Pete Carroll, not going anywhere. And so now you're left with Ron Rivera.
Ron Rivera's not going anywhere.
You don't think so?
No.
Well, I was just going to say, of the
Dan
teams.
Snyder's not even in charge of the franchise right now. Ron Rivera is Urban Meyer with more power right now.
Go ahead.
Of the teams with 2 wins or less, he would seem like in the most precarious situation.
No chance. Wholeheartedly disagree.
And the other one is Kyle Shanahan. So you went 0 for 5 or 0 for 6.
You just named Ron Rivera, Bill Belichick.
No, I didn't name them. I said those guys aren't in trouble.
Frank Reich.
And then Frank Reich.
I did the process of elimination to say who's not in trouble and got to, okay, guys, out of the teams that have 2 wins or less, who's on the hot seat? Ryan's here trying to say that Urban Meyer's going to get fired.
Well, this wasn't a topic that either of us brought up. You just decided to broach it and then listed.
No, you guys were talking about guys on the hot seat. You're talking about coaches on the hot seat.
Their organizations.
All right, Brinson.
Plus is on my side. I get to host the podcast.
Brinson, here are the teams that are 5-1. Tell me which of these coaches get fired. Matt LaFleur, Mike McCarthy, Bruce Arians, John Harbaugh.
Look, Breech, I'll give you a lot of credit.
That's the right answer.
You named Bill Belichick and Frank Reich, and then we're like, excuse me? And you're like, no, and now I'm going to name the other guys.
I was going down the list.
Oh, my gosh. Look,
I was naming the 2-win coaches of people who are not in trouble and getting to the coach, the only coach I think would be in trouble.
Brinson. You should have screenshot that with Debo.
Actually, I do think there is a case to be made that if you're going to pick someone from the 2-win team who's going to get fired, that Frank Reich, if the Colts went completely off the rails, but Carson Wentz is playing well enough.
So now Frank Reich's getting fired?
No. If the Colts went off the rails.
You think Frank Reich's getting fired?
Frank Reich talked Chris Ballard, by all accounts, into trading for Carson Wentz.
I'm tweeting this out.
Well, that would be a lie that you would be tweeting. So
I'm just giving you a taste of
Kyle Shanahan is not going anywhere. He and Jed York are boys. He's not going anywhere. Pete Carroll basically runs the Seahawks, and they have a weird ownership situation, not going anywhere. Frank Reich, Carson Wentz would need to really tank the entire season for Frank Reich to take the blame and get fired. Chris Ballard is a patient guy. He's not firing him. You actually said Bill Belichick's name, which is kind of incredible.
Yeah, because I was listing the teams with 2 wins, and he has 2 wins.
But you led with, all right, these coaches could get fired on 2-win teams, and then you went on to read the names.
You're like, Arthur Smith, no chance. Bill Belichick, though.
By the way, so last week someone asked who's the most correct on this podcast. And here's the thing. Breech probably has a higher batting average than me, but he says stupid things like 2 and 3 coaches like Bill Belichick getting fired. He's saying trade a 3rd-round pick for Gardner Minshew type
But
stuff.
that's not what I said at all. And anybody listening to the podcast will understand that.
Breech is like
literally not what I
Adam
said.
Dunn or Joey Gallo. It's a 3 true outcome situation.
I listed the 2 win coaches in the process of elimination to get to the one who I thought had the best chance of being fired. And you guys didn't even answer my question about who you thought it would be, except Brinson did. Frank Reich and Wilson backed out.
You'd be a good lawyer, Breech. Clarence, you wants to know if Belichick is fired, how many teams would fire their current coach to hire? I think he means hire Bill Belichick.
Ooh, that's a good way to turn this around, Clarence. What's a brilliant question.
Would the Steelers fire Mike Tomlin to hire Bill Belichick?
No, they wouldn't.
Right.
Doug Whaley, who was a former front office guy for Pittsburgh and then later Buffalo, actually was on the radio show, and he said he was just speculating, but he said it makes a ton of sense for Tomlin to take the USC or LSU jobs because he would be basically God there or whatever. And there's no way he's not doing.
What is he talking about? Doug Whaley? Doug Whaley?
He just speculated. But Ed Bouchette, who's been a longtime beat reporter for the Steelers, said what we say a lot of times when we're talking about these NFL coaches. No one wants to do the recruiting because you don't want to go have to babysit a bunch of 18-year-olds and tell them a bunch of stuff and then have them go somewhere else. And it's a huge headache.
That's the same guy who drafted EJ Manuel in the 1st round. What is he talking about?
That wasn't great. That's not on the top of the resume.
But there's just no way Mike Tomlin's leaving Pittsburgh after 2 Super Bowl. Well, I guess 1 Super Bowl one, right?
1 and 2 appearances. Yep.
1, 2 appearances. Graded with Bill Cowher's players, but who's keeping track? Never, as of now, finishing with a season below 500. Probably a Hall of Fame resume when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, he started when he was 36 or 37 or whatever. No, 34.
He's not chasing kids around Southern California. What is Doug Whaley talking about? That's ridiculous.
He's on radio, and we say some stupid things.
That's not.
But it is interesting, Clarence's question, because there was I don't have it in front of me. All
right, so AFC North, the Bengals will do it in a heartbeat. I mean, I don't think the Browns could. But
wait, before you go on, let me ask you this. I'm curious what Breech would think about this. I'm not even joking. But someone who I can't find it, but someone tweeted out they did a study about how conservative Bill Belichick has been on 4th downs, and he's actually more conservative than a lot of the coaches now. Like 15 years ago, he was sort of cutting edge, and now he's replacement level or below in terms of going for it on 4th down or whatever the analytics say. So he's been extremely conservative this year, maybe because of Mac Jones, maybe for other reasons. So knowing that, Breech, are you still comfortable taking a more conservative Bill Belichick when guys like Stefanski and even Zach Taylor on some, they're going for the 4th down and doing all the things that the nerds tell them to do?
Are you asking me if I'd rather have Bill Belichick or Zach Taylor?
Just on game day, not the personnel decisions, just for 60 minutes every Sunday.
Well, I mean, is he coming up with a defensive game plan during the week?
Did you just pause on you'd rather have Zach Taylor over Bill Belichick?
No, he was getting
no,
clarification.
Yes, thank you. I'm getting clarity. Brinson trying to turn this around again. I'd have Belichick in a second.
Yeah, he's not the general manager. He's just strictly the coach, is all I'm saying.
All right, here's I counted, and I'm gonna throw out an approximate number because I think there's certain factors that play into this. Because we're talking about right now. I counted 20 teams who would, don't blink, fire your head coach and hire Bill Belichick. The teams I left off are
the Patriots.
So now again, caveats apply here. The Arizona Cardinals are 6-0.
Let me and Breech guess the teams that will keep their coaches.
Okay.
All right, Breech, you start. We'll start in the AFC. Breech, you pick your first team. I'll go next.
The Ravens.
Correct.
John McDermott, Bills.
Correct.
Wait, how many do we have in the AFC? Or do we just keep guessing?
Yeah, we'll name them. Go ahead.
I had 3 AFC teams, 2.5 AFC teams.
So the Ravens, we have the Ravens.
3.5 AFC.
We have the Ravens and the Bills.
Ravens and Bills. Yep.
The Chiefs.
Yep.
Oh,
sorry, 4.5. I messed it up. So it's hard to do.
I was going to say Brandon Staley.
Yeah, he was the half.
The charge. Oh, I thought the Patriots were the half.
No, I didn't count the Patriots. I mean, if if Bill Belichick was like, I quit the Patriots, I'm going to coach the Chargers. Do the Chargers say, sorry, Bill, we've got Brandon Staley?
I don't think I do. I think I'm staying with Brandon
I
Staley.
think you have to take Bill Belichick.
But we yelled about, and I wonder how glaring
You have to take Belichick.
but again, if he is so conservative now that he's like not doing the things that we're accustomed to see people do, and we're just like, oh, that's Bill Belichick, and they're losing football games, then you're like,
This feels like the would you take Justin Herbert over Patrick Mahomes talk like 2 weeks ago. All right, but anyway, the Chargers, I definitely paused on the Chargers.
well,
So we have the Chiefs, the Bills, correct?
Ravens, Chargers. That's the four
Ravens,
we've named.
and then the Chargers, but then there's one more team that we talked about before. So
Steelers, yeah.
Steelers. Yeah, I think those are the only teams where it's even in question.
Yeah,
Right.
I wonder like maybe Vrabel or
I thought
maybe
about Vrabel and Frank Reich where
Stefanski.
maybe- what's that?
Stefanski.
Yeah, I just think, well, no, we said they can't hire Bill Belichick because they fired him. The Browns did.
Oh, I thought they just meant the Patriots.
No, the Browns fired Bill Belichick previously.
I understand that. So you can
I
never.
think he just wouldn't work there. So I think that's.
Oh, I see. Okay.
See what I'm saying? All right, so NFC.
All right, go ahead, Breech.
All right, I'll tell you how many I have in the NFC. I have it's like 4 and
The whole NFC. It's been a while.
4.75.
Yeah.
4 point. All right, I'll start with the Rams.
What?
That would not have been my first pick. They are in the
Wait, the
half
Rams?
range. I mean, they're 5 and
Oh,
1.
I'm sorry. I thought we were going the other way. I thought that the Rams would fire McVay for. You're saying the Rams?
No,
would keep
I'm saying
McVay.
the Rams would keep McVay.
Okay,
I think that the Rams would keep McVay.
100%.
As insane as that sounds,
That's not
it's
insane.
Bill Belichick. He's the greatest coach in the history of professional football.
McVay
Okay, well-
has one of the best records of any coach
Again,
since he's started.
I put the Rams on the list. of
Sean
teams that
Payton.
would Sean McVay is 5 and 1. He's been to a Super Bowl where he lost to Bill Belichick. He traded for Matthew Stafford with the help of Les Snead. They're 5
He's
and
never
1.
had a losing season. He's been in the playoffs in
Yeah,
I
4
don't
years.
think that they would make the swap right now.
That's a layup. Well, he's 69 years old, so when are you going to make the swap?
Yeah, sure. That's the thing is like, you wouldn't trade Justin Herbert for Aaron Rodgers?
I
It's
would.
the same sort of concept. You know what I mean?
I would from the Packers. Is that what you mean?
No, I'm saying for the Chargers,
Oh, right. Yeah.
you wouldn't
okay,
trade
look-
the young quarterback for the.
Who else do you have, Wilson?
Sean Payton, Saints.
That's a layup.
Pete Carroll, Seahawks.
Oh, I kind of thought they might swap it.
I don't think they swap it.
I think that's like the ultimate. It's like the sign Peyton to get rid of Tebow move.
Yeah, that's a toss up. I could go either way on that one.
Now, in reality, they
Oh,
would
okay.
not do it because Pete Carroll has won them a Super Bowl, and Paul Allen died, and the ownership is it's there's no way it would happen.
No, this is hypothetical.
No, I'm saying like, yeah, I think every Seahawks fan on the planet would prefer Bill Belichick to Pete Carroll.
Mike McCarthy. That's a joke. Bruce Arians, Tampa Bay.
I don't think the Bucks would fire Bruce Arians for Bill Belichick.
No,
and even
by
if
the
they
way-
would, Brady wouldn't play for him.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm having fun here, guys.
All right, you have one more Breach. It's tough. I wonder if it's.
I'll go with LaFleur.
I was gonna say you go with your doppelganger.
I think I have to go with him. He's just. I mean, you can give the credit
Who's on the list?
to Aaron Rodgers, but I mean, the bottom line is that the Packers have been unbeatable since he took over.
And by the way, if Aaron Rodgers can't get along with anyone, how is he getting along with Bill Belichick?
I mean, the Packers are just doing 31-7 under Matt LaFleur. I mean,
That's
you can't fire him. Like you can't.
that's
he's too
it.
young.
Every other team, you're taking Bill Belichick.
Plus, like Aaron Rodgers leaving, you're gonna have Bill Belichick and Jordan Love. Welcome, congratulations, you're the Patriots now.
So were the Rams the 0.75?
The Cardinals and 49ers combined to form a 0.75. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I'm obviously preferring Bill Belichick to Cliff Kingsbury. But at 6-0 and the only undefeated in this team in the NFL season, I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I don't know. The dude was at home last week and they still won by 50 points.
Fair. I mean, but like, don't get me wrong. I think all Cardinals fans would prefer getting Belichick over Kingsbury, but
And no one's arguing about Kyle Shanahan either, which is sort of interesting. Like, he's out.
no, I had Shanahan in a toss-up section. The NFC West is tough.
And Kingsbury, even with the 6-0 start, is 19-18-1 in his career. And I don't think he gets credit for that last win because he wasn't there. So he's really 18-18-1.
Like every single coach in the NFC East is like doesn't even make it to Bill Belichick calling the owner saying, "Hey, I would like to take over." Like that guy's fired before the end of the sentence. The NFC West, kind of tough. All right, we somehow stretched this into a 90-minute podcast.
I can't believe this Broncos Browns podcast turned into which coach is going to get fired.
This is Divo's always, he's like, you know what? Let's turn this into a little segment about hot seat. And all of a sudden, 45 minutes later, he's like, I can't clip this for you too.